Monday Night Football. And it's going to be a bit of a doubleheader here as we'll begin on ESPN with Steve Levy, Dan Orlovsky, and Louis Riddick. And they're going to call our first game. And before that game ends, the second game will begin on ABC with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. And so we've got two games here on Monday night to talk about. Let's begin with our first one. The first game on ESPN is the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills. And last year, Tennessee hosted the Buffalo Bills and managed to win the game. Tennessee was the number one seed in the AFC last year, but had a disappointing showing against the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC playoffs. And they're coming off a bit of a disappointment here in the first week of the season. The Giants went into Tennessee and beat the Tennessee Titans in week one of the season. And so, that's a big surprise considering that Tennessee seems to be a playoff caliber team and the Giants have a whole new coaching staff and a new philosophy. And so, Tennessee has a lot of questions. They made some changes in the offseason. They had a few defensive players defect from their team. They traded away A.J. Brown, one of their top receivers, to the Philadelphia Eagles. But they bring in Treylon Burks, a rookie in the draft, and they're hoping that he'll be able to take his place in, A.J. Brown's spot. But you basically have a team that is dependent upon the run, and they use Derrick Henry a lot, to control the clock and run the football, and that sets up the play-action passing for Ryan Tannehill. Now, last year, Derrick Henry got injured, and I find that running backs, when they get injured, it tends to hamper them over the long haul, and it becomes from one injury to the next to the next. And so what Tennessee did is they brought in a gentleman called Dontrell Hilliard. Hilliard picked up the slack last year in the absence of Henry, and it looks like they're going to be playing with both of these running backs, to help split carries and limit some of the exposure to Henry early in the season. Hilliard had a big game last week before it seemed like the whole team kind of imploded in the second half. For the Buffalo Bills, they've had 11 days to prepare for this football game as they opened up the Thursday night kickoff against the Los Angeles Rams and dominated them in a fashion that I don't think anybody's seen coming. Buffalo's the favorite in the AFC to win the entire thing this year, and so they come in with the big expectations, but it sure didn't slow them down against Los Angeles all the way out in LA. Here they've got their home opener, and they've got a team that is expected to compete to be into the playoffs in Tennessee. I'm sure they're not taking them lightly despite last week's, loss to the Giants. Buffalo here, a lot of weapons for Josh Allen. We've talked about Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis. Dawson Knox, the tight end. They've got Isaiah McKenzie as their third receiver. They have three quality running backs in Devin Singletary and Zach Moss and the rookie James Cook. So for me, I look at this game, Tennessee coming off a disappointment. I'm sure they're going to give it all they've got. But Buffalo looks like, they're going full speed ahead. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills to win this game. In our second game, we're going to move over to ABC, and that's going to be Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. And that's the Minnesota Vikings at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Vikings come off of a big win, a surprising win, really, if you think about it, against the Green Bay Packers. Now, they were playing at home, and Green Bay's got a lot of receivers that they're having to learn the system and work their way in, the rookie players. And Green Bay's known to let down the first week of the season here and there. So not a huge surprise that the Vikings managed to win that game. The Eagles hung in there, and they put up some big numbers against the Detroit Lions on the road in Detroit. Detroit, tried to claw back into it, but the Eagles managed to, keep from turning the ball over and managed to pick up the win in Detroit. Philadelphia has a lot of weapons that they can get the ball to now. They put all of their eggs in the basket of Jalen Hurts. You know, he can use his mobility to buy time and get the ball down the field to A.J. Brown, who we mentioned earlier, who was traded over from Tennessee. They've got Devontae Adams on the other side, or not Devontae Smith, I should say, on the other side at wide receiver. You know, Dallas Goedert, the tight end. They got a couple of really good running backs. And last year, their running game dominated because they weren't very good passing the football. They've got Miles Sanders as the starter, Kenneth Gainwell, among others, you know, running the ball behind a really good, you know, offensive line. But the defense was a bit of a letdown, you know, despite the addition of Hassan Reddick at linebacker, and, you know, they had Jordan Davis in the draft up front. They gave up 35 points to the Detroit Lions. They're not going to be able to do that against the Vikings, and the Vikings will have their number. Now, I'm a big Minnesota Viking fan. I like the Vikings in this particular game. I think that the Eagles could very easily win it. But I look at the new system that they brought in. Kevin O'Connell is the former offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams, and he was quarterbacks coach back in the day, and he knows, you know, Kirk Cousins from his Washington days. So they know the same system. They've got some great players. Last week, Justin Jefferson was running free throughout the secondary. I'm not sure whether or not that was scheme or just bad play by Green Bay. But, you know, between Jefferson and Thielen and running the football with Dalvin Cook, I think that the defense might be able to hang on here, and I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings to win the game on Monday Night Football. So now let's take a look at our spotlight players of the game. Here's our spotlight players of Monday night, and we're going to begin with the tight end, Dawson Knox of the Buffalo Bills. He is a red zone target and a threat. You know, he can make some big plays. You know, everybody concentrates on the wide receivers of the Buffalo Bills. They got Diggs, you know, and Gabriel Davis. But Dawson Knox makes plays up the middle and in the red zone, and you can expect him to make some plays against that Tennessee Titan defense here on Monday night. As for the Vikings player, we got Cameron Dantzler, and he's going to be playing defensive back against either Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. Both players had big games last week, especially A.J. Brown. The opposite player of Cameron Dantzler is Patrick Peterson, so they may split time against A.J. Brown, who had such a huge game against the Detroit Lions. So this is a person of interest here. Definitely want to spotlight him. He needs to play big and limit the damage of the receivers if the Vikings are going to have any chance to win the game against Philadelphia. So there we go. There's our Monday night picks. 2 games on basically a doubleheader. I hope you're enjoying watching my videos. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're enjoying my video here. You know, we do it pretty much every Thursday and Sunday. With the doubleheader here on Monday, I decided to do a Monday video. But we'll recap everything that has happened this week on Thursday. And so please like and subscribe, as I said. Come over here, you know, this is the subscription side. Look over here and you can check out my predictions for the entire NFL season. Thanks for joining me. You've been watching Picks with David, and we'll see you on Thursday night for the Amazon Prime game.